Creators podcast and radio show on K-Fred Lifestyle Optimization Radio. I'm your host, Mary Farias. Economy Creators spotlights real stories of entrepreneurs and creators building their own personal economies around their unique interests, talents, and experiences. If you're an economy creator and would like to be on the show, I invite you to reach out and apply to be a guest. I love meeting and spotlighting economy creators. Welcome to K-Fred Lifestyle Optimization Radio. My name is Mary Farias, and with me I have an economy creator named Aaron Solly. Hi, Aaron. Welcome.
Hi, Mary. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Aaron helps successful professionals who feel stuck, restless, or misaligned, even though life looks good on paper, realign their careers and lives with what truly matters. So, Aaron, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I always wanted to have a business as a kid. There was these ideas that I'd have, and it started off with a friend and I. We built a fort in my backyard one summer, and within a short period of time, we realized that there's all these candy. Like there was a candy store that was just down the block, and if we charged 2 cents more than the store charged, kids might come to our store before the main store because the main store was like a 10-minute walk away, right? So we had this business idea, the KA store we called it, and so this business mindset was at 10, 12 years old, and so it kind of inspired me to look at ultimately as I got older, how can I help people in other ways? And yeah, the personal economy that I'm building is really about helping people through coaching and my book and different ways that I helping them access their true self and what truly matters to them and be able to step into that on a more consistent basis.
Yeah. Oh, I love I love that story with you and your friend. Were K and A your initials?
Yeah,
Yep. I had a friend named Marcy, and we had M&M Gymnastics Academy. So,
that's
I
awesome.
yep, I hear ya, I hear ya. I love that entrepreneurial spirit as a kid. I think that's great. So you said you wanted to help people. So what was that desire, that inner pull that really got you going into the direction that you are headed with this coaching business of yours?
It started even younger than when I started that business with my friend. Uh, I guess maybe it was a bit before that, or it could have been around the same time. It was like grade 5 or 6 in elementary school. I had trouble falling asleep at night, and so I would actually, um, I used my imagination a lot as a kid, and so what I would do to help myself fall asleep is I put my head under the pillow, and I would, as I put my head under the pillow, I would become the teacher of the class, and I would, embody the presence of the teachers that I looked up to in the school that I thought were really cool, and they taught really fun in fun ways, and so I would say, "Okay, class, now we're gonna talk about social studies or math or whatever that topic would be," and that would be, and I would, literally as soon as I put my head under the pillow, I was in the classroom. Like I was really good at visualizing, and at the same time, it helped me fall asleep as well. So at a young age, I was drawn to teaching, and I didn't know, like, back in the 80s, there probably were coaches out there, maybe they were called consultants, but I didn't know that that was a career path at all, but it was a good starting point, and it stayed with me because in university, I got a business degree, but I majored in HR, and the courses that I really appreciated in university were the ones, that were around corporate training and organizational development, which were tied to that teaching element that I was focused on, and then eventually, I think Brian Tracy was one of the first kind of personal growth experts that I started to read books about and tapes. Back then, it was the cassette tapes, and uh, and that's where I started to see, oh, there's this other type of profession out there that you can do where you're actually teaching people, and you're not, because I always thought teaching had to be in a school, like you had to be a elementary school teacher, high school, or college professor, and it's like, oh, there's just this other way that you can teach people that you don't have to be in a school environment to do that. That's curious. I'm curious about how do you do that? Yeah.
Oh, that's neat. Brian Tracy, he's great. He's a contemporary of Bob Proctor, so that's perfect.
Yeah.
I love that.
Mhm.
And so as you were going through college and university, as you say, and getting your degree in business, so you started down the path of a business career, and then what kind of transpired for you?
When I graduated, I found it a hard time getting a job, and so I was working at a warehouse, I was working at a golf course, I was, doing whatever I could find and getting an HR job. Every time applied to an HR job, 'cause I had an HR degree, they said, "Oh, you have to have experience," and I was like, "I don't have experience 'cause I just graduated, so how do I get experience when I" Yeah, and so I started off in financial services, that they were the ones that were seemed to be hiring, so that's where I started. So that's what The Secret came out. I had met Jack Canfield at an event and got a book signed from him and then you know, met Bob on The Secret, like watching The Secret, learned about Bob's efforts and other people, right? And and then that sparked my curiosity again about, okay, how do I move to that profession? How do I get into that profession? And so the way I started was around probably 2004, 2005. Soon after the Secret came out, around that time, I'm like, okay, there's these friends of mine that actually are way smarter than me. They're getting, like, in high school, they got A pluses. They have so much potential, and yet they're not they're not taking advantage of their potential at all. So I created a newsletter, because and it was on a website that I created called Between Your Ears, because I had a high school basketball coach, and he said to us, 80% of the game is between your ears. Thing is, that's all he said to us, and then we went back to working on our offense, defense, accuracy for shooting, running, jumping. Like, there was no education in the '90s that he provided around what does that actually mean. And I didn't connect the dots as to what he was talking about until I was older in university and that. But I decided to create my website based on that philosophy, because I then had clued in that, yes, the mindset and your mental state is so important. And so I created a newsletter and had it going out, and just started. I just started doing it, and yeah, it was great. I was able to start to get just reach my friends and family to start. It wasn't really a business then. It was just like, I just want to just help in some way and see where it takes me.
Oh, I think that's so magnificent starting a newsletter. That's so good. I love that the 80% of it is between your ears. And sports is such a great place to learn about personal growth and development, isn't it?
It
We
is.
don't we
Yeah,
don't realize we're learning about it.
exactly. Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
the mental state of any sport is a key part of, yeah, how you're gonna perform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we're seeing it in the Olympics right now, aren't we?
We are for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
you know, I would go even farther and say it's more than 80%. I would say 95% between the ears.
Yeah, well, my first book, I titled it 100% of life is between your ears. I actually bumped it right up there.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, we're gonna be talking about
yeah,
books here. I love
yeah.
it. So good. Okay. So as you were going through this process of figuring out that there is this coaching path that you can take, but there's also this dichotomy of, well, I gotta get a job and I gotta do this and I gotta do that because that's what I know, right? That's what we know. We have to do those things and that's what we're supposed to do. So
Yeah.
what are some paradigms or programs or conditioning, beliefs, expectations, patterns, whatever it is that were holding you back that you just had to let go of?
Yeah. A big one was security, and having, especially financial security, was something that would show up a lot, and also just, confidence, like, believing that I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't, as experienced enough to be able to do what I was seeing, the authors and the speakers and coaches that I was seeing doing it, that, I needed to have more experience. Uh, and, uh, and yeah, a lot of it was the smart enough part of it. It came up for me a lot too. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and what about the fact that I mean, how did you get started in that sense? So when you thought, "Well, am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Am I gonna be able to do this?" What got you through that patch, I guess?
It was a lo yeah, it was a roller coaster ride in a lot of ways because I would have moments where I was confident and I'm like, "I'm gonna do this." I would just, not worry about how and just go all in and, just take action. Like, writing the newsletter was just let's just start, but I would run into, other friends or family that would question what I was doing, or thinking it was hokey or, self-help, like, why are you doing that? 'Cause especially in the '90s, it wasn't really, looked at as something that was actually helpful. You had to just work hard. You had to just get experience, get a degree, get that designation. Don't do the self-help work and read these books. That's not gonna do anything for you. Yeah, so it was, other influences that definitely impacted things for me, yeah.
Yeah. Well, was there a particular moment when you realized that you needed to start doing something different, thinking different in order to be able to move forward for yourself?
Yeah, I would say, there was a lot of moments, there was tons along the way, but a big one was in 2012 when I was going through a separation, which eventually led to a divorce. Because for probably in high school, I was not diagnosed, but I probably was dealing with depression in high school, but I definitely was diagnosed in my 30s, and so these depressed moments that I'd have, these periods of time, 3 months, 6 months, a year, ultimately, I think impacted my relationship. And in 2012, I was spending a lot of time on that computer trying to find out, like, what's wrong with me. And I think that's a question that I was asking myself for many years, thinking that there's something must be wrong with me because I didn't feel the same as my friends. They didn't seem to be um, as worried about things. They didn't seem to care about things in the way that I did. They didn't seem to be impacted by what people said or pressure that was put on them. And like, "Okay, there's something wrong with me." And then during that time, there was a weekend where I actually went to a Hay House event, and Wayne Dyer was there, Marianne Williamson, and other speakers that
Wow.
like, it was a perfect time for me to just hear their stories and their messages because I had been following them for many years, and to see them in person was just amazing. And I came back that night after that event, and I think it was like what do they call it? A blood moon?
Oh.
One of those red moons that happens, like, it's a super moon or something, and so I'm not in the basement of the place, I'm actually in a separate room that I didn't use very often, and I'm journaling about what I experienced at the weekend, event, and it just hit me that I was asking myself the wrong question. I needed to stop saying, "What's wrong with me?" And I needed to start saying, "What is this for?"
Let's step away from the conversation for just a minute. Aaron is mentioning something profoundly important that most people miss. He just said that he realized he was asking the wrong question. Over and over for years, he had been asking himself, "What's wrong with me?" To understand why this is the wrong question, we need to understand a bit about natural law. There is a universal principle of vibration in this universe. Everything is moving all the time. Nothing is at rest. When I say everything, I mean everything. Our thoughts are included in this. Each thought we have vibrates on its own frequency. So when we think of something happy, maybe a puppy licking our face if we like dogs, we can feel something change in our body. We feel good. This means that our vibration lifts. When we think of something we don't like, perhaps a barking dog, especially if we're afraid of dogs, we feel bad. Our vibration lowers. Our thoughts shift the vibration we are in all the time. So understand that the word feeling is a word that we created to describe the vibration we are in. We needed to explain what the frequency of vibration was doing to our body. So we came up with happy, sad, excited, angry, relieved, and all the other feeling words. Now, why is this important? Because there is also a secondary law, the law of attraction. What the law of attraction does is it sends the things that are in harmony with each other to each other, like a magnet. So if we're in a happy vibration, we will notice more things to be happy about. If we are in a sad state, we will notice more things to be sad about. So, what does this have to do with Aaron's question of what's wrong with me? Well, think of the times that you may have asked yourself that same question. What vibration do you think you were in? Perhaps you felt left out, maybe like you didn't belong or that you couldn't do anything right. 99% of the time, asking oneself that question indicates a low vibration. The person asking it naturally begins attracting and noticing more reasons to prove that there is something wrong with them. When Aaron shifted to the question, "What is this for?" he introduced a more hopeful attitude and therefore vibration into the mix. He began looking for things he could learn from the situation and he opened his mind to a new answer. I encourage you to notice the questions you're asking yourself. Are they lifting your frequency or are they lowering it? If you find that the questions you're asking are making you feel bad, simply ask yourself, what question can I ask that will make me feel better? One that I ask myself is simply, what would I love? In any moment that you're noticing something you don't like, ask, what would I love? And you will find that the things that make you feel good will enter your consciousness. Play with it. See what happens. Now let's get back to the interview.
Mm. There's gotta be a reason. I've been going through this roller coaster ride. There's gotta be a gift in here somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that shifted everything for me. Yeah.
Wow. So, what about so you identified that you were asking yourself the wrong question. So, how did you how did you move into answering the right question? How did you shift yourself in how you saw yourself, your self-image?
Yeah, I realized that I was reading a lot of books and I was doing it a lot on my own, and I would go to see, like, especially with my depression, I'd go see a therapist for 6 months, maybe 3 months, like, a period of time, and then I'd feel better, and so I'd stop.
Yeah.
And I realized I wasn't putting the investment in. I was thinking, "Okay, I just need it's just a Band-Aid fix, let's get it fixed, and then I'll be fine." And I realized I was playing kind of a sprint game versus a marathon. And so I actually decided to find a therapist that understood what I was going through, and that changed things for me. And that therapist actually talked to me a lot about my depression and the history of it and what was going on. And one of the things she asked me was like, "How do you define depression? What does it mean to you?" And I said, "Well, it's like this everything's gray, everything's bleak. There's this dark cloud hanging over me, and getting up in the morning is like the biggest obstacle biggest mountain I have to climb to be able to, because back then I had to suit up and go to work in a suit, and to get the energy to actually get dressed and put that on and get out the door and put on a brave face and not show that I was struggling was exhausting, absolutely exhausting. And by the weekend, I had no energy. I didn't want to see anybody. I just wanted to veg out on the couch and eat carbs and, not do anything, right? And she said, "Yeah, that's definitely a definition of depression. But here's another thing that you may want to be aware of." And I said, "Okay, what is that?" She said, "Depression is anger turn inward. Anger turn inward." And sometimes you hear something like that and it doesn't really land. Well, that was the for me that I actually heard that loud and clear. It was the right moment for her to say that, because I realized that I had a terrible relationship with anger. If it was if it even existed at all, it was I just stuffed it, right? I stuffed it down. Didn't want to talk about it. If I expressed anger, I was bad. I was wrong. No one's gonna like me, so don't even go there. And so I switched it to people pleasing, right? And I was people pleasing like crazy. And so that realization then took me to do work on that and how to safely release my anger. And I did a workshop that was part of the workshop is how do you safely get that anger out? and then feel what's on the other side of it, because that's a lot of the things that I learned is that it's a surface emotion and there's feelings that are there that once you get to the other side of it, you're going to feel stuff that you haven't maybe felt for a while, and it clears a lot out. And yeah, so that helped me to start to take steps, and I invested more in myself. I realized that I was trying to take care of everybody else, and that self-love at that moment in my life really needed to be my main goal moving forward before I could continue to care for others.
Yes, absolutely. And here's the thing, people are going to resonate with you so much more knowing your story, knowing that you went through what you're coaching them through. That's so important, I think, for clients to know that you do the work. You did the work, you do the work. And now now you move forward and you've got engaged coaching group and you mentioned a couple of books. So why don't you tell us kind of when did Engage Coaching begin? Did it start back in with the newsletter or did it start later after this new understanding with your relationship with anger after going through the counseling and when did it start?
There was moments along the way, and I'll even if I go back even before that to anger realization, uh, in my, um, in my early 30s, I got an email that just completely it was another moment that really, um, helped me connect to why I was into personal development for so many years. And you see, I didn't have a relationship with my birth dad. I met him when I was 10, and I remember that, clearly to this day, it was a special day. It was around Christmas time, which is for my birthday, and getting to see him. I knew that he existed. I didn't get a chance to see him very much, but I didn't remember moments where I saw him when I was younger. And so that was a big moment, and I assumed that I was gonna be able to see him more after that. Because it was a really nice moment, and then I didn't. I didn't see him, and I get this email in my 30s, and that website, Between Your Ears, that I created enabled him to find me. And he emailed me off that website and said, "Hey, are you Aaron Solly, you know, whose mother is so and so and this and that." One thing that in that moment was just like it just light bulbs went off and reconnections happened for me was I scrolled down his email and looked at the signature, and he was a coach. And I was like, "Okay, this is why," because my mom was never into this stuff, right? As it's to the extent that I was into it. I'm like, "Okay, that's why I have been pursuing all this personal development and working on myself, and self-love being my a goal for a period of time." And so that got me on the path of, okay, how do I get to do this more? Because okay, this is in me, this is in my genes, pretty much, right? And so I started looking at
Right.
coaching franchises. I started looking at how can I do this more often. Going through that separation, divorce, that workshop that I did around anger led me to a counseling program. And it led me for 3 years working on myself, working on how to support others, and then how to facilitate groups. And so I got a counseling diploma. I was looking at coaching for so many years, and then counseling showed up, right? And so that's where Engaged Coaching Group started. Was I was able to coach people and do counseling at the same time for a couple of years, and I wrote a book at the same time to help people with journaling. So journaling's been a big and simple tool that I've used for many years, and so I really wanted to create a workbook for people to be able to do a journal entry a week, just to be able to help them start to connect more with themselves. And so it evolved, and being able to bring that to life as I started to work on myself and reconnect. Okay, this is my true essence. This is who I am, and it just started to unfold. Yeah.
So what does journaling do for you? I find it very helpful, very cathartic, very um brings clarity to what I'm thinking about and trying to figure out. So what does it do for you?
Yeah, it's helped me in a variety of ways over the years. Like when I didn't have a relationship with anger, I actually was didn't realize how much I was journaling just to get anger out, and that was my kinda secret way of getting it out because I didn't feel like I could express it. I've used it to, I found that I would write lots of kind of things that were happening in my life in a kind of a poem form and kind of make it rhyme or make it kind of flow in a certain way. And a lot of times what I would end up doing is I would write about something that was struggling with, that was challenging. And then as I'm writing more and more about it, I would find an answer that I didn't have when I first started doing the journal. And then I've also used it just to connect. Like I think there's been more of a spiritual element of things for me, and I've used it from that perspective too, as how to speak to something greater than me and get answers that that maybe I wasn't able to access before, right?
Yeah. So you mentioned visualization before. So do you use journaling and visualization together? Do you still visualize like you did when you were a child with your head under the pillow teaching?
I think I think it's a bit of a habit that I don't even realize I'm doing it, but I'm always when I get these ideas and these goals that I have, I am constantly visualizing what it'd be like, and and lately I've actually been through the work that you've helped me with. I've taken the affirmations and things that I do, and I've recorded them, and I listen to them every day.
So good. So tell me about this because it seemed like your coaching kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit and then it came and it went and it came. Did it was it just cyclical in your life? Was it a rhythm that was happening? It seems like it's a thread that was through your life the entire time, right? And it seems like you just keep going back to it
Yeah.
regardless of the other stuff that might be going on. So, what pulls you back into coaching and counseling?
Yeah, I think, there's definitely things that have like, when I started the counseling, um, practice, it I just started, and I started to get a few clients, and I had this vision of how I'd be able to progress it, and I wasn't able to get the clients that I had anticipated. I invested in all the things that people said you need to invest to get a business going, and I wasn't getting the traction, and so then I became deflated and, frustrated and also just down on myself, okay, like, believing that I'd failed, right? And then I go get a job, and, and then I found ways to balance it where I could do the coaching in the evenings and weekends and that, but then, you know, managing family priorities and that, sometimes it didn't feel like I could do it, especially having a newborn in the house and having to, take care of a small child is okay. My priorities change, right? And that, um, so there was definitely some moments where I had to kind of give it up. And like during COVID, I, I ended up starting a podcast. I'm like, I'm going to just do it in a different way. I'm going to reach people through a podcast called Your Gifts Matter. So it's been an ebb and flow, but I've come back to it also. Just I've had moments where I'm like, okay, this is, there's so much need, and I have this desire in me. I just need to share and help people in whatever way that looks like. And what ends up happening is I start sharing posts or I start sharing articles, and then it's like, okay, I think I can do more. Like, what else can I do? I can go on podcasts like this, right, and shows like this, and spread the message out there, and just being more open, and because I got caught up in the business planning and the model and the finances, and you have to get so many clients, and that was taking me away from actually the results that I wanted to experience, was just to be able to help people and find ways to do that. And it then surprisingly people would come to me and say, hey, I actually want more help. So okay.
Yeah. Well, and that lends so much to the energy behind what you're doing, right? And when you're energetic and you're the energy behind what you're doing is, I just want to help these people. I just want to serve. I just want to, ooh, this is a great article. Let me send this out. Versus how many clients am I going to get? What is this going to happen? Da, 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 da. I'm not at that metric. I need to be at that. And
Yeah.
and that is like a closing off type of of energy versus I want to give and universal law exists and there's a law of cause and effect, there's a law of compensation, there's a law of circulation and energy has to flow. Yeah, so it sounds
Exactly.
like that ebb and flow came with those energy bursts and kinda stifles, is that kind of what you think?
Yeah, exactly, and I also realized that, a lot of the times where I was struggling, I was doing everything on my own. Trying to do it on your own, you can only go so far on your own, and so, like, joining your community has been, like, just a game changer because it's surrounded me with people that are in the same mindset, and then they're talking the same language, and it's just, it's been it's one of those practices is who you surround yourself with, right? So I was like, I need to surround myself with people that are in that same frame of mind and be able to, you know, help them when I can, and they're going to help me, and it's so great to be able to have access to that. So yeah,
Oh,
it's a key
wonderful.
point about it. Yeah,
It is, and I was in that camp that I had to do everything on my own before. I really was. I was one of those kids who dreaded group work in school because I did all the work because I want the A, right? And, I had to unlearn that and
yeah,
relearn it's okay to ask for help, it's okay to collaborate, it's okay to have a team.
exactly. Yeah.
What keeps you moving forward? What is the biggest driver for you? Is it just helping people or is there something bigger?
I think when I look at the world right now and the state that it's in and the because I dealt with depression, I just, kind of look at across the globe, what are the instances of depression happening? How many people are struggling with it, and it continues to go up, and so that to me is where, on a global scale, is that I'm seeing that there needs to be more around that to be able to help people and get the support they need, and do it in a way that uh, is creative, it's agile, it's flexible, it's not necessarily medication, but it's because there's everybody, can heal from it in their own way, and finding that way that meets their needs. Because I tried all types of different therapy and different methods, and not all of them worked for me, and sometimes people don't have the direction to know that and understand that, this one recommended way is actually it's not working because it's not right for you, right? So I had this bigger vision of being able to, have events or, some type of school. Think of Hogwarts, but it's like to heal depression on the planet, right? Where
Wow.
there's different modalities of teachers that are there, and they're not just coming and they're not just speaking to people, but they're actually sharing something that you can practice. Like let's practice this breathing technique. Let's practice this meditation. Let's listen to this type of, healing music or sound bath that actually can resonate within your body. Like, yeah. So there's, this grander vision that I see in bringing in some of these, experts around the world to be able to share their expertise and heal more people and bring that depression rate down. Yeah.
That is wonderful. I would shout that from the rooftops because you're so right. We're all unique, and that's part of what we're doing here on the show is spreading the uniqueness of what makes us so great in our individuality and in our story, and to think that something like depression is treated the same way for everybody and it works, right? It just doesn't make sense. And so I love what you're talking about. I love the creativity behind it. I love applying different things, trying different methods, seeing what works for some people, seeing what works for others because you're right. Well, maybe we could call it an epidemic of it, but it might be because people are pigeonholed into one type of cure, right? Versus trying more things. What do you think?
Yeah. I think the bigger, solution is connection, is, forgetting to connect with people. Like growing up, kids would be out in the neighborhoods biking around.
Mhm.
Families would get together just casually. You could just go knock on someone's door and like, "Hey, yeah, let's have a barbecue or something." You don't see that anymore as much. There's pockets of neighborhoods that do that, but a lot of people are just kinda living in their bubble, and the kids, have play dates, so it's prearranged kinda playing, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just I think there's people are really searching for more connection and maybe haven't grown up with it to know that how important it is. And so the event that I envision is it's not just about the healing, but it's putting people together to connect. Just basic human connection uh, can help heal so much. Yeah,
Yeah. I think I'm finding a thread even in the few podcasts that I've recorded that connection is key because in actually everyone who I have interviewed so far, that has been a key component to the economy that they're creating. Nobody can really create an economy in isolation. You need people to help you, whether it's in coaching, whether it's in counseling, whether it's in healing depression, whether it's in recovery in AA, whether it's spreading kindness, like Kevin Smith is doing. And so you're so right. We need to bring that community back. And people need to find their people.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and to be open to like I think that there's also these silos and just opening up the silos and the segregation and just we're all human. We're all people here. Let's all like let's all get along because we all want connection at the end of the day. If you take away the money and the power, like it's just we just want to be able to feel like we're valued and that we have a purpose. And if we that's what I want to really want to focus on is helping people connect to that greater purpose in them and recognize that um it's not something that's directed toward power. It's actually a gift that can come out of them and help people, right? You don't need to have all this power to do that. You can just the power is in actually giving, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. It's in giving that we receive.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, besides the, Hogwarts, castle that you're working on in your mind, what else are you currently working on and excited about?
I created this 7-day alignment reset program to start off this year, and it's really an opportunity to get people through. I help primarily men in my practice, so it's not that I can't help women, but I just find that men, for whatever reason, come to me for career challenges and confidence and communication challenges. And so what I've done is created this 7-day program where they can practice key aspects to help them with a goal that they want to accomplish in a week. Like let's pick a goal that you can do in a week and let's look at the behaviors that are maybe getting in the way. Let's look at the thoughts that are getting in the way. Let's look at what values you want to step into to achieve it and get into practice and get some momentum going. And it's there's no financial investment for it. It's set up where it's more focused on getting them to get some momentum. Because I know when I was struggling, momentum was what I was needing. I was stuck. I couldn't figure out a way to get some movement going. And once I got the momentum and accomplishing something small, and it's like, "Okay, I can do this. Let's continue to do that, and maybe I can add something else in a couple weeks and add something else." So, yeah, so I'm excited about that. I've got a few guys that are going through it, and they're providing some testimonials from it and saying that they're getting benefit from it. So, yeah, it's fun to be able to provide that help.
Wonderful. That sounds great. That sounds great. Ah, so good. So where can people go to learn more about you and connect with your work?
Yeah, so my website, engagecoachinggroup.com. On there, you can actually download a resource around reinventing your career and reinventing yourself ultimately. So there's a free resource there. And then I'm on Instagram, Aaron Solly. Uh, on Instagram, you can reach out to me there as well. Yeah.
Perfect. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience, Aaron?
So there's Carl Jung, people may have heard of, his famous psychologist, and I learned a lot about him in my counseling program and just his approach. And there's a quote that he's known for that just has stayed with me for years, and I share it whenever I can with people, just to simply state what can help somebody in changing their life and get to the heart of what truly matters to them. And he says, "Those who look outside dream. Those who look inside awaken."
Mm,
And so if you're looking to awaken your life, reinvent your life, if you're looking to make lasting change, go in go inside yourself.
yeah, that's very good. That's very good. I agree because it's easy to blame things on the outside, but when we begin to look inside, yep, we can open
Yeah.
those gifts, can't we?
It's where you find them. Yeah. It's amazing what you'll find in there. And it may you may not find them right away, but the more you work on it and you be open that there's gifts there, and what is this for? Right? There's a gift in there for this. Whatever I'm going through, there's a gift. You will find lessons and gifts there along the way.
I love that question, "What is this for?" Ah, so good. Thank you, Aaron. I really, truly appreciate your spending time with me and chatting with me and sharing a little bit about you and your economy.
Really appreciate you having me, Mary. Yeah, it's great to be here.
Thank you. And thank you for listening. Are you an economy creator? I want to meet you. Join me for my free Economy Creators Challenge that I host the first week of every month. And if you're interested in being on the Economy Creators podcast and radio show here on KFred Lifestyle Optimization Radio, please reach out and apply. I can't wait to meet you.